On this episode of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Kutcher.
I got visits lined up to Buffalo, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. Go to Buffalo first, and they make a really nice offer to me, and we agreed to the deal. You did not want to piss him off, I'll tell you that much, because you rarely saw him get upset. And when I say he grabbed it, he's like, oh, boom! Oh, shit. I picked 6 Brett Favre, but I think the one that it has to be Kurt Warner. I got Kurt when I was in Washington, and I crowd surfed basically into the end zone. So it's against my former teammate who I won a Super Bowl with. I picked Brady off in that ball game, and back then I used to give footballs out as gifts, man. At that point in time, going into that Super Bowl, the Patriots were more of a ball control, heavy run type offense.
The greatest sports moments happen in seconds, but the stories behind them are timeless. Dive into the mind of the icons who lived those moments. No filters, just authentic conversations about the moments that define careers. I'm Justin Kutcher, and this is the Just in Time podcast. Welcome to another edition of the Just in Time podcast with Justin Kutcher. I'm joined now by a guy who was a 4-time Pro Bowler in the NFL, a Super Bowl champion. He played 16 years, including the last 14 with all over 100 tackles in each of those seasons. And with all that said, he's a better dude than he is a football player. London Fletcher. London, thanks so much for joining me here. It's weird for me to see you here and not actually on the golf course, but it's great.
I appreciate that. I thought you were actually going to say I was a better golfer than football player, but I'll take the person part.
You know what? I can't lie to the fans.
Hey, Coach. My handicap is coming down, man. It's coming down.
Oh, I know. I've been checking it. I've been watching.
Yes.
Because I need to make sure when I'm able to beat you that I get that London Fletcher money. I need that time.
I'm going to make it hard for you. I'll tell you that much.
Fair enough. Well, you know what? It only kind of lines up with your entire career, making things hard. It didn't start off easy for you. Going back to college, I didn't know this until one day we were playing golf. You said you were actually a basketball player more so than a football player. Like in high school, were you a better basketball player than football?
In my mind, I was, absolutely. It's people who knew me before college. If you knew me in elementary, middle school, and even high school, you knew me as a basketball player. I only played 1 year high school football. So I was a basketball player through and through, true and through. And that's what I love doing. That was my first love. And just played the 1 year high school football. And I really only did that because I didn't want to have any regrets once I reached middle age and be like, man, I should have, would have, could have. Like, I think I could have been a really good football player if I tried, gave it a chance or whatever. So come my senior year in high school, I say, you know what, I'm gonna go out for the basketball team just to say I did it, not have any regrets. I played that season, and needless to say, I was actually very good at it. I had Division I football scholarship offers, but still took a Division I basketball scholarship actually.
So you went D1 basketball, and then you transferred to D3 John Carroll.
Yes. So I went to Division I St. Francis in PA. I had some mid-major schools from basketball. Northern Illinois was school I really liked. They actually was gonna potentially have me play both because they had I was offered as a basketball guy, a basketball scholarship. They had a guy on the team who was playing both sports already. He was on a basketball scholarship and he was playing football. They was like, hey, you come here, you can play football as well if you want to do that. Bowling Green offered me in both football and basketball. St. Francis, I think like Niagara or Canisius, I can't remember that. I get those two confused. Yeah. And then a couple other schools that offered me. Michigan, then I had a couple other mid-major offers for football. And Michigan and Ohio State offered me as a preferred walk-on. Because by the time they've heard about me, they had already pretty much done their recruiting. They're like, hey, would you be interested in coming here as a preferred walk-on? And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm first of all, I have scholarship offers. Secondly, I'm a hooper, man. I want the people to see this face.
So wait, what position in basketball?
I was a point guard. I know it's hard to tell.
No. I mean, what I want to know, like, what was your skill set in basketball? Were you a shooter? Were you like an assist guy? Could you dunk? All those things.
I was a scorer. I was scoring point guard. I could dunk, yes. And I would, my senior year in high school, I went to so to give you an idea of the type of high school I went to, and actually, let me backtrack a little bit in terms of how I ended up only playing 1 year high school football. So my first ninth and 10th grade year, I went to a magnet school in Cleveland
Yep.
called Martin Luther King, and they didn't have a football program, so what playing football wasn't an option. I went there, transferred in the middle of my 10th grade year to Villa Angela St. Joe's. Now Villa Angela St. Joe's back in the late in the 70s, 80s, 90s in Cleveland was one of the perennial high schools for sports. Football team had been great. Basketball team was great. Clark Kellogg went there for
Oh,
basketball. Trigg Lee, Eric Riley, football. Desmond Howard, Elvis Gerbach, just to name a few of the some
damn.
of the guys
Okay.
that went to this high school. But I went there to play basketball, and I transferred middle of my sophomore year. Finished out the that season, sophomore year on varsity. We won the state championship. The next year, I'm coming in nice, extremely competitive there. You have guys who've been at the school already coming up from the JV trying to play starting
Mhm.
point. The starting point guard when I first transferred was a senior, so he had graduated. Went on to names Tony Miller. Went on, had a great career at Marquette in their Hall of Fame. He was one of the NCAA's all time assist leaders. He might still be like top five. That's how good of a player he was. The starting point guard position was wide open. Now I felt like I was gonna be the guy, but I had to go. Like I got to go earn it, and I didn't want to miss the offseason workouts, all that playing football, which would have been my junior year. So I said, let me solidify everything here on the basketball side. End up doing that, solidifying that became the starting point guard. We won a state championship as my junior year. So now I'm established as a basketball player, got my role. My senior year, now I'm like, okay, let me now go play football as well and also not to have any regrets. So I end up playing football, MVP of the football team, basketball team. I was, I think, second leading scorer, average about 14 or 15 a game, 6 assists, 6 rebounds, did a little bit of everything. But I was more of a scorer than like I can get buckets.
All right.
But we're kind of balanced team too. Like our leading scorer, he averaged like 20. He ended up going to UNLV. You weren't going. It wasn't in high school where they were going to let you average 25, 30 as a player. You weren't going to be able to get up that many shots.
So when you played high school football your senior year, what position were you?
High school what football?
Football. Yeah.
I was a running back and linebacker. Yep.
What were you better at?
Man, I was pretty damn good at both. To give you an idea of how I was as a running back, now people they saw what I was able to accomplish as a linebacker just through watching me in the NFL. But when I went out for the football team, I think I was 195 pounds my senior year, like 190, 195. The guy who was kind of slotted to be the starting tailback, I think he may have been like 170, 175. So I was a lot bigger, and they wanted me to play fullback. They're like,
Mhm.
hey, we want you to be the fullback. I was like, man, I'm not being no, give me the rock. I'm not blocking for anybody. They hadn't seen me run the ball. They was like, no, you can be a fullback. No, give me the rock, and I'm gonna show you what I can do. We scrimmage a team out of Youngstown, Ursuline. First play of the game, I think our quarterback gets hurt. Second play, I think I come in as the tailback. We run a 9 toss. It's a toss to the left side. About 85 yards later, I'm in the end zone. So the rest was history. I was a starting running back and I was a starting linebacker. And I mean, I excelled at both. So it's tough to say which one I was better at.
You know what's funny is I have these like images right now of a young London Fletcher being like a Bo Jackson. Like he gets that
Eh, eh.
ball and he just goes over everyone and runs past them and everything.
That would kind of be accurate. I had a little bit of wiggle too. I can make you miss too.
Well, I didn't realize. I mean, I saw in your NFL draft combine, you ran a 4.38 40.
Yes,
Dude, that's
yeah.
moving.
I can run a little bit. I can run a little bit. I must admit.
Now,
You know,
now now I see where your son gets it from.
yeah, that was, you know, one thing I just could run. I was just blessed with speed. Never had, think we got at John Carroll. That was really the first time I can really remember. Well, I got tested in high school. I don't remember what I ran in high school, but at John Carroll, they did the test and I ran a 4.34. That was the fastest I ever ran on the 40. And once that was I was like 215 pounds when I tested. I didn't do it at the combine. I was at my
Okay.
pro days. I ran 4.38. I was maybe 235, 240. Yeah. Yeah. I
Running a
just,
4.38 at that
the,
weight?
the crazy part is I didn't know how to, so I didn't know how to train and didn't know how to run the 40. So I knew the drills they were going to do, you know, at the combine, not the combine, but the pro days.
Right,
Say they
right.
let you know, they'll test you in the 40, gonna test your bench press, gonna do all these different drills, 3 cone and all that type of drills. So I went to the track coach at Carroll, like, hey, can you help me just learn how to do the starts? So this whole time he's teaching. They showed me to start like I'm running from a track
Mhm.
stance, with four, you know, both hands down or
Yep.
whatever. So that was the way I thought we were gonna run. So my very first 40 that I ran I was at Kent State's Pro Day. I get down, you know,
Yep.
in my stance. I guess they're waiting on me to you know
Stand
raise
up.
my hand. Yeah, and I just take off. I mean, I'm flying. I am flying. Like they like you got to run that again. You didn't run it correctly. I'm like, what do you mean? They like, no, you got to hold your hand back. You know, you had to. You've seen it now. You got to
Yep.
hold one arm back and all that type of stuff. And then so I didn't even really have the right technique and still ran 4.38. I think if that first time with a track, it would probably been about 4.35. I was
Okay.
rolling.
So if that first one tracks, do you think you get drafted as opposed to being the undrafted free agent?
No, because I think I mean 4.38 at any position is
Yeah.
fast. At a linebacker is ridiculous. I was battling being a 5'10" linebacker, so undersized for my position, and I played at Division 3. Even
Mhm.
though the production was off the chart, people just couldn't get over. Hey, I'm 5'10" and I played at a Division 3. So will this production correlate? So that was really the thing that I was battling, those two elements. If I'm my height and I do this at a Division 1 school, especially if it's at a Big Ten school or ACC, SEC type of school, there's no way I'm not getting drafted with those type of with that
Yeah.
type of speed.
And by the way, the numbers your senior year, you said were off the charts, 202 total tackles, if I'm not mistaken, as a senior. And how many games was that?
We played 12, so it was 10 regular season games and 2 playoff games. So uh, what's the math, man? I don't know what the math is
You're
on it.
just under 20 tackles per game.
It was a lot of tackles per game.
Damn. And you were the middle linebacker in college too.
I played will
You played
linebacker.
Will. Okay.
Yes, I played the will backer. So it was and at will I was able to run a lot
Hmm.
more freely.
Yep.
Um, got into the pros where they switched me to middle linebacker. I could have probably played. I could have played will in for some teams as well. But the great thing about being in the at the middle linebacker position, you can't get away from me. You run it right or left, you cannot get away from me. I'm going to be in the middle of everything, and that's why I loved playing the middle linebacker spot.
So your story is one that kind of amazes me because everybody I talk to, when I mention your name, they're like, man, that was one of the smartest dudes on a football field I've ever seen. He just saw things, he knew things that were going to happen before they happened. but you didn't have the football experience all throughout your childhood. Was that just something that was natural, or did it come from seeing something?
It was both. There was some natural instincts involved with it. Just as being an athlete, you just kind of instincts take over. As a especially having played running back, I kind of understood the running lanes
Hmm.
of a running back. So you have that running. One of my coaches called running lane instinct. So I had that, and then I studied a lot, man. Like I didn't study a ton when I was in college, but when I got to the pros, I mean, I studied like even when I was just playing special teams. I studied studied the teams that I was going against, the players, and when I got to the pros and I became a starting middle linebacker, man, I wasn't. I've never been a big video game player, so where I'm single, I'm living in St. Louis, I don't have anything else to do. I just watch film all the time, every day. I'm just watching film, and and constantly studying the playbook as well, and that allowed me to apply my instincts and my knowledge, and then you add the athleticism and speed to it. Man, it was gonna be that's a hell of a combination.
Yeah, it proved to be a ridiculous combination. But I want to know, when you're watching film, when you're at home, you're young, you're single, you're watching film, what are you looking for? What is it that you're trying to pick up so that you can actually carry that over into the game?
Well, say if it's you want to look at formations. Well, I'll say this: personnel groupings first and foremost. Hey, what's the personnel? What's the down and distance? So you got to get a good idea of that. Those tendencies of an offense, field position. They call it analytics now. Back then, we called it stats.
Yeah.
This is this is these statistics say, hey, this personnel group, and 80% of the time on this part of the field, this down the distance, they're gonna run this play. So I'm looking at those tendencies. Then you get into your third down stuff. You're looking at the different down and distances, formations, matchups. I would study running backs and their running style. Hey, just is it a the target where you want to tackle these guys, the plan of attack, things like that. You also want to what I would also do is I would look at certain formations and I'm putting my top three or four defenses against those formations, those play calls, running plays and passing plays. So now I know my fits. Where's my safety at? Is my safety to my left or my safety to the right? Is it, hey, this is a more of a cover two scheme. How do we play this formation, this things like that. So now I'm running these different plays against all these different defenses. Same thing with
Yeah.
second down, second in situation, third down. Now, hey, these are the top defenses we'll call against this formation, this particular play. What's my responsibility? Potential problem plays, all that type of stuff. So, and going into a game and having a plan too. So it's a lot that goes into it in terms of wanting to do it the right way.
Are you taking notes throughout the whole
Oh yeah,
time when so you're writing, okay, so they're in 12 personnel at second down and 8, they do this. And you're just going
yeah,
through trying to find every time they're in 12 personnel, you're jotting that stuff down.
yes, yeah, and so they they used to have we had to show you how long ago this was. They had these beta tapes. I don't know you
Yep. Oh, I know what beta
beta
tapes are.
tapes. So
Yeah.
they would have all their third down plays, third, let's say call it third and short plays. Just pop the tape in, you can watch it. You can get your third and 2 to 5 plays, third and 6 to 10 and 11 plus whatever. Then you get your first and second down runs. You can pop that tape in. All that. The longer I stayed in the league, they got away from that
Yeah.
beta tape and it was on the computer now. I
Yep.
think it was called an Exos. So now all this stuff is charted. So it's immediately available to you. I can get personnel groupings. I can get, whatever I want is right there readily available for me. And even today, it's even more advanced in the information, like the stuff that you can get and how quickly you can get it, man. I'd be dangerous with this stuff. So, and it's just you just constantly, doing that over and over again. And so, and it's just really just repping. So I'm repping it mentally, visualizing. I can see it visually. Then I'm going out on the practice field. Physically, I'm repping it. Then once we get into the game, I've repped this stuff so many times. It's just like, man, I just know it.
I see so many similarities between you and a guy I used to work with, a guy who came on this podcast, Chris Spielman, where you guys have a natural athletic ability, but you're able to use your brain to go to another level.
Mm-hmm.
And what he would talk to me about was he would pick out tells that
Yeah.
maybe an offensive lineman had, a running back had, a quarterback had. What were some of those tells that you used to your advantage?
Well, you want to look at the from an offensive lineman standpoint. You're trying to look at the pressure that they have on their fingertips. Like if they're leaning a little bit more forward and their pressure, the fingertips seem like it's more weighted on the ground. This kind of indication might be more likely run. That could be run at play action, but that's the indication to you. Now you don't want to look at tackles because tackles will lie to you. They're not always in the 3-point stand. They might be up and stuff like that. Somebody in that formation on that line of scrimmage should be able to tell you something. Um, if I see a running back and he's kind of his alignment is even a little bit deeper than the quarterback and it's third down or whatever. Hey, third and let's call it 3 or 4. Hey, this might be a draw alert. If he's kind of wide, he's kind of splitting the crouch of the offensive tackle. Um, he might be coming more than likely coming out of the backfield. So now I'm looking to see is there a potential pick route by the
Yep.
formation? Is there a slot receiver close by? So you're looking at those type of things. Bunch formations, motions. It's so much that somebody usually is going to tell you something. Whether it's run, pass in that formation, it's just a matter of being able to decipher who it is.
All right. So Fletch, tell me, like, if we had a camera on your eyes pre-snap, are they just going back and forth scanning everything?
Initially, when we break the huddle, I'm scanning to see the formation. So I got to set the front, and it might be say we got a blitz coming from the passing strength, so I got to see where the passing strength is, man. Especially if it's a 3 receiver set. Let me set the formation based off that. If it's a tight end, regular personnel, one back, one runner, one tight end, 2 receivers, 2 running backs, may have to set off the tight end. So I'm looking at the formation to kind of get the picture set. Toughest ones to set is if you got 2 tight ends in the game. Now, who's what we call a stud tight end? Who's more of the pass catching tight end? Where you at on the hash? All this stuff is things that we've already during the week of game planning, we've deciphered and determined how we're going to set the front. So I'm looking at that, and then from there, I'm just really I'm gonna continue to look because I can see big picture, but then eventually I'm going to hone in. Really, I see the tackle to tackle, and more importantly, the triangle I call guard, center, guard to the near back. They really tell the story for me.
Wow. That's crazy. I can remember one time I was working with Eric Crouch, and it's our first game working together. So we go to watch film together. And he's like, "You see this? You see this? You see this?" I'm like,
You're like, nope.
"No." I was like, "You know what I see? I see is a quarterback under center. Is he in shotgun? Where's the running back and where are the receivers? That's all that I see."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad you bring up running back, quarterback on the center, like depth of the running back. If you're a lot of the West Coast offense, especially like the traditional West Coast offense where they used to have quarterbacks under center, depth of the back told you a lot. If he's 5 yards deep, if he's 7 yards deep, run past and things like that. So depth of the running back, formations, offset backs, all that type of thing. There's so many different things that you can get out of just studying the film. And I tell guys all the time, you have to study. And if you want to be able
Yeah.
to play fast, first and foremost, you got to know what you're doing. Because if you don't know what you're doing, you will not be able to play fast. You won't be able to show your true talents because you're gonna be slowed down by thinking. You want to take all the thinking out of it as as least as possible. Get the thinking out of it so you can go ahead and be able to play fast and do what you need to do.
So I can't imagine what it must have been like for you as a defensive player. That 1999 Rams team, when all of a sudden it's the greatest show on turf, right? Like, so Trent Green goes down with the injury. Kurt Warner comes in as the quarterback, and everything changes. In practice, are you guys going ones versus ones? Like, how are
Oh
you?
yeah, yeah.
You're going up
Not
against these
during
guys.
the off season you do.
Yeah.
During the off season you do a lot of
So
off
so
season.
so off season, that off season leading in, it's not the greatest show on turf because it's not Kurt Warner.
Trent Green was a hell of a quarterback
He
though.
was, right.
Yeah, it was gonna be the greatest show on turf regardless.
Okay.
With Trent at the trigger during the preseason, Trent was lighting it up. And then he went on, became the starting quarterback in Kansas City once I think we traded him to the Chiefs, and he played in that same offense under Dick Vermeil when Coach Vermeil left the Rams and went to KC. And Trent lit it up in that offense. So it was going to be the greatest show on turf regardless. Now, defensively, the year before '98, we were a defensive led football team. I think it was like a top 10 team. But offense was they left a lot to be desired. Let's say that. You come back, you make the trade for Marshall Faulk, draft Torrey Holt, got a healthy Isaac Bruce, and some of the other pieces come together, and you're like, man, these guys, they out here lighting us up a little bit. So it's a healthy competition. Some days we get them, or some periods we might get them. Some periods they get us. So throughout the offseason, you're doing that training camp. You're going ones on ones. As you get into the season, there's not as much of that. You may have some competitions, some competition periods, whether it's like 2 minute drills, things like that. But it's not a lot of ones versus ones once the season got going.
So when Marshall Faulk came over, you were with the Rams in '98, as you mentioned, kind of defensive oriented. '99, Marshall Faulk comes over. So off-season workouts, when you're going up against him, and all of a sudden he's doing that wheel route out of the backfield, and you may have to cover. What is it like going up against him? When did you know that he was going to be a game changer for you?
Well, we played against Marshall. I think we went up to Indy and scrimmaged them in '98. He was still with the Colts.
Right.
And you knew he was special then. Like anybody who knew Marshall Faulk in college at San Diego State and saw what he was able to do his first few years in Indy, like there was no question about whether he was going to be special. He was already special when he came to us. It was just seeing him, to be able to see him do it on a daily basis. That's where you were just in awe. Like, he just did it at a different level than everybody else. And Marshall had this like swag about him and his, just aura. Some might call it arrogance, but he just was a different animal. He was a different animal. Somebody just asked me the other day who was the best players I've ever played with, and I was like, man. And I've no disrespect to anybody else, but I played with some guys who were current Hall of Famers and some other guys that'll probably get into the Hall of Fame. And I was like, man, Marshall Faulk and Orlando Pace, those are the two best guys that I've ever played with.
Orlando Pace is a mountain of a man.
Yes. You know what? Especially when it was at Ohio State, he was 300 probably 30 pounds, and you see him just running down the field on screen plays or lead the line. He's a tremendous athlete, high school basketball player from Ohio, another Ohio guy. So he was just a great athlete. But as he got older and in the league, he leaned down and Big O was lean, in the probably in the latter part of his career. But he was just so smooth, man, just gifted. I tell you what, you did not want to get him, man. There's one time, Big O, he's very mild mannered, kind of just chill, almost like a gentle giant.
Yep.
And so we're in practice, and this is if it was ones versus ones. So I don't know. I think it had to be traded cap. It might even been one of the rare occasions where we did go ones versus ones in a regular season. and I think it's a run drill, like a 907 period. And so something happened between Orlando and one of the defensive ends. And so they go at it, and the DN said some stuff, and he pissed Orlando off. I don't know why he wanted to do that. The very next play, Big O picks him up, man. And I swear he slammed him so hard to the ground. He almost buried him. Like you and typically when that happens, there's gonna be a brawl. It's gonna be
Right.
offense, defense, big brawl. Man, when that happened, all of his defense just looked at each other like, man, damn, you need to leave him alone, man. You leave him alone. That's the one you want to mess with, man. Like he was just strong and athletic, and he just from a talent standpoint, you did not want to piss him off. I'll tell you that much.
Dude, that's like bear strength because
That's exactly what it looked like. I mean, it was like he came because you rarely saw him get upset. And when I say he grabbed it, he's like, oh, boom! I'm like, oh shit!
because I'm guessing whoever was playing D end was not small.
No, not at all, not at all. And like I said, typically us defenders, we'd have been jumping that lineman, man. I don't know if it was out of respect for Orlando, but I think it was out of fear. Like, nah, we gonna leave him alone.
Smart play on your part. Smart play on the entire defense's part. How about that year when Trent goes down and Kirk comes in? When did you see and when did the team start to believe that Kirk could lead this team to where you guys thought you could go?
Well, I think he had a really good game. Had a great game against Baltimore, the very first game of that season. I can't remember how many touchdowns and how many yards he threw for, but he had an outstanding game. So you see it done once, and I don't know who he played in the second game. Goes out and does it again. Then you still be like, okay, maybe he has something. Does it again. You're like, shoot, we might have something. Then did it again. And you're like, oh yeah, he's the real deal. So I think it was probably after watching him do it for 4 times. Fourth time you're like, no, he's the real deal. He is legit. So I think it's probably after watching him in those first 4 games of the season, like, man, he's special. He has something.
I've never spoken to you about this, but I'm just trying to think. You being an undrafted free agent out of a Division III school, he was packing groceries and then he's playing in the Arena Football League and now he's in the NFL. Was there ever, a certain bond with the two of you that you shared because you weren't these highly touted prospects, but yet here you are producing at a really high level?
Yeah, it was a natural bond because Kurt and I, we were rookie in the same rookie class, so to speak. We both made the NFL in '99, although Kurt had already had a couple professional seasons under his belt. So there was that, and then there was the undrafted part where we didn't have to talk about it. It was just kind of unspoken, where we knew we were both considered underdogs, and he was the underdog leading the offense, and I was the underdog leading the defense, and 2 undrafted guys. And Coach Ramil, our head coach at that time, he was an underdog himself, so he truly embraced and gave the underdogs a shot, an opportunity. So I know he was thrilled having 2 undrafted guys being the leaders of his team.
Try to put it into perspective for people. It's almost like having two walk-ons at a major college program, be the
Yes,
quarterback and the Mike linebacker and the
that's
leaders of those. And
that,
oh, by
that's
the way, and those two walk-ons help you win a Super Bowl.
that's exactly what it was. And you're like, man, this is Kirk had the the movie that was about his story. You could have added a little London Fletcher into that story if you wanted to, just to put a little something. But just two unlikely stories when you think about how we got to that point that we're in. I mean, you go back to my upbringings, the things that I faced, all the things I faced to get to that point, and him as well. That doesn't happen all the time in the NFL or often in the NFL.
So you have to kind of walk me through playing in the Super Bowl that year. You're going up against Tennessee. You make it all the way there. What's the buildup like heading into that game? You being a film rat, like you have now 2 weeks to prep for this game. What's the whole mindset and what are you doing?
Well, this is one of the on a rare occasion where there was only 1 week in
One
between the
week.
Super.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right.
so yeah, it wasn't the 2 weeks. So we won the Super Bowl. I mean, won the NFC Championship on that Sunday. Had a team meeting on that Monday the next day, talk about logistics, and we flew into Atlanta. I think that Tuesday. Yeah, I think it was a quick turnaround, and then we played that Sunday. The good thing about it, we had played Tennessee during the regular season that year in Nashville, and we started the season off 6-0, and they handed us our first loss of the season. I think we ended up losing by maybe 3 points to them. Close ball game. Their crowd noise affected us.
Mm.
Offense had a bunch of penalties like false start penalty and things like that. I think they may have won a turnover battle. Steve McNair played really good for them. So we knew we were going against Eddie George and the Russian attack and all those types of things. We knew what we were going against. The great thing about that team and facing an opponent like Tennessee, there wasn't any mystery of who they were, what they were going to do. It wasn't all of a sudden, hey, 1 week they're throwing the football 40 times and then the next weekend they're going to run it 40 times. No, they're going to run the ball 40 times every week, week in and week out. That's who they are. It's going to be Eddie George right, Eddie George left, and some Steve McNair design quarterback runs and some scrambles. And, they get the ball to Frank Wycheck and maybe some Kevin Dyson here and there. But it was a simplistic offense to go against. It wasn't a whole lot of, it wasn't any mystery of what was going to take place. So I enjoyed that, to know that, hey, they're gonna run the ball 40 times. There's 40 opportunities for me to make tackles. So that's kind of the way I looked at it, and I thrived on that because they wanted to be a physical football team, and um, defensively we took that challenge upon us. So offensively, they were high pressure defense. Gregg Williams, who I played for, head coach, he was my head coach in Buffalo. They loved the blitz. Play some man-to-man coverage. So it was going to be opportunities to get some one-on-ones with our corners against their guys. Our receivers against their
Right.
corners. But you had to be able to protect the quarterback. And then they had Javon Curse, who was a
The
nickname the
freak.
Freak. Yeah, he was an animal out there, their number one pass rusher. So we had a healthy respect for them, and we knew it was going to be a good football team and a tough game to win.
So it was a tough game, came down to the final play. On that final play, you're the guy making the call, right, defensively, aren't you?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so what are you seeing and what's the call that you make?
So it's I think the call was Hot 77 Blast. That was the hot means pass rush. Like we're expecting to pass obviously in that
Right.
situation. So let them know, hey, get in your pass rush lanes. Probably 2-3 techniques, two defensive ends. 77 part is the coverage part, man to man. I think we got some combination calls within that. It's like 2-man with some calls as well, depending on what side of the formation you want. Me personally as a linebacker, I'm by myself on the running back. Like I don't have any help, but the linebacker Mike Jones and corner and safety, they're working together. They can make some calls, and then
Mhm.
the nickel and the other corner and the safety, they can make some calls as well based on the formation of what they splits to the receiver, all those types of things. So they called a Mike Jones, Billy Jenkins, and I can't remember if it was Ty. It might have been Ty Light. They played a triangle call, and so they ended up basically a 3-on-2, and it worked to perfection. And um, so the rest was history. They played it the exact way it was supposed to be played, and Mike ended up making a tackle on the 1 yard line and winning the Super Bowl for us.
So when I watched it live, I didn't think it was that close. I thought he made the stop, you guys win the Super Bowl. But they show the replay, and when he outstretches his arm, he really did hold on. Did you think it was that close? Did you think it was stopped?
Well, I didn't have a great angle because and next time you see this, you'll when I tell you this, next time you see the play, you'll notice where I was on the field. I'm covering Eddie George, and he's on my right, the offensive left. He flares out to the left side of the offense. So I'm kind of watching. I'm covering him, but I'm kind of also looking to make sure Steve McNair doesn't try to scramble.
Right.
I don't know if I'd have been able to make the tackle, but at least if he starts running around, just at least get back in, maybe hopefully get into play. When a ball is thrown, I'm probably 5 yards from the sideline or whatever. So I don't have a great angle either. And I see the extension by Dyson as well. So I didn't know that we won until the confetti came down in the ceiling. I wasn't sure if he scored or not because I didn't have a great angle based on where I was on the field.
Wow. And then you're a Super Bowl champ for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, Super Bowl champs for the rest of my life, man. Rest of our lives.
That's crazy. So one thing that I love about you, and you and Coy Wire, I feel like you guys have this in common. Coy played with you in Buffalo, and he played in Atlanta.
Yep.
You obviously played St. Louis, you played Buffalo, you played in DC. And I think every city, every team would call you their own. Like, you're a fan favorite no matter what city you're in. So when you go to Buffalo in 2002 as a free agent, was it the cold weather that attracted you, being from Ohio? You wanted to go back near a lake? What was it? Why'd you go to Buffalo?
Yeah, it was the paycheck.
I love the honesty.
Man, listen. At that point in time, I played my first 4 years in St. Louis, and I played phenomenal. We win one Super Bowl, go to two, make three consecutive Pro Bowls, and I was one of the mainstays on the defense during that time. And would have loved to work out a long term deal. Couldn't agree on a contract. Become a free agent. I got visits lined up to Buffalo, Detroit, and Pittsburgh. Those are going to be my three free agent visits. Go to Buffalo first, and make a really nice offer to me, and we agreed to the deal.
Really?
Yeah. So I was from Cleveland, so that wasn't. And the crazy thing is, Buffalo's 2.5 hours from where I live in Cleveland. Pittsburgh was about 2.5 hours from Cleveland, and Detroit was about 2.5 hours, just all different directions. They all were about similar proximity, and they all were similar weather. Now Detroit had the dome, so that was I wasn't gonna be playing outside, but so I mean, it was just really, Buffalo was the first one to step up to the plate. I will say this, and I think I've shared this in the past. I know I've shared it with people, just friends. Detroit actually ended up offering me more money than the Bills did.
Oh.
But I had already agreed to the deal with Buffalo, and my agent was like, "Man, London, you already gave these people your word." And it was significantly more, like
Oh, really?
yeah, about $3 or $4 million more
Oh,
total.
wow.
Yeah, so and I stressed about that. I actually, so I agreed to the deal during the day or that night, whatever, with Buffalo. But I didn't sign the contract until the next day because I had to go take my physical and everything. But that whole night, I got this. I'm thinking this whole thing about, man, because I actually canceled my visit to Detroit, and I'm like, damn, I should have got on this flight to Detroit. Am I doing the wrong thing by turning down this extra money? So I'm stressed out about this. I actually broke out in hives from thinking about it so much. Yes, yes.
Is
But
that why you get so upset if you lose $20 in golf? No, I'm just kidding.
pretty much, yeah, man. I could have used that extra money, but I'll say this, it ended up being great for me. I thoroughly enjoyed my time in Buffalo. The fans were great. Wish we'd have been able to make the playoffs. Defensively, we had some great defense several of them years during my time there. So, and the friends that I made in Buffalo, the relationships I made there, they're like, I have lifelong friends So I mean, it ended up being the right decision for me. But yeah, at that point in time, I'm like, man, this is extra $3 or $4 million. That's significant.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. And what made you say yes to Buffalo right then without actually going to Detroit or going to Pittsburgh?
Well, again, Buffalo had stepped up to the plate, and we had a number that we wanted to get to, and they were close to meeting our where we wanted to get to, and again, the smart franchises, the really good ones, you get a guy in your building, especially back then at that
Mhm.
time. You got him in your building, you don't let him leave. Like you got the first crack at it. The worst thing you can do is let that guy leave without closing the deal.
And who was Matt Millen the GM at the time in Detroit?
Yeah, yeah.
I
So Matt
love
Matt was
Millen.
Matt was a GM, and Matt will verify this conversation. So I we agreed to the deal with
Buffalo.
Buffalo, and I don't know if my agent called him and told him that we were canceling the deal, canceling the trip or whatever. I think Matt called me, or Matt or Steve. It wasn't Steve
Was
Mariucci. It was shoot, before Mariucci, who was the head coach at
it wasn't
the,
Fonts, he was gone, right?
no. He also came from San Francisco. Shoot,
I can't
he
remember.
rode the motorcycle, had the Harley Davidson.
I'm drawing a
Anyway,
blank.
yeah, I'll look it up. But
All right.
he called me, him and Matt, and like, man, you got to come here, visit us. Because they had just built a new I think they
Ford
just
Field.
built a new Ford Field was opening. There's just brand new practice facility. They're like, London, you got to get here. Come check this out. Really, And so I'm talking. Then Matt calls me. He's like, London, no, you got to get here, come visit. I say, listen, Matt, man, I've gave these people my word, man. I said, man, for me to get on that flight and go back to them, this is how much money you got to give me. I tell him, he say, done, you got it.
Oh,
So, no problem. He said, come to London. Just, yes, it's yes, we're going to pay you that. He tells me that. I'm like, oh, shoot. So I go back into Gregg Williams, the head coach. I go back into his office. I'm like, man, I think I want to take this visit to Detroit. And so Greg, he obviously wasn't too happy when I said that to him. He's like, man, I don't have a middle linebacker now. Man, I like, man, shit, that sounds like a personal problem to me. Like, I didn't say this to him, but this is what I'm thinking. So I end up in my mind, I'm about to get on this flight to Detroit. And my agent, he calls me like, London, man, you gave these people your word, man. I was like, man, shoot, man. They met my demands.
that's crazy.
Yes, yes. So if hats off to my agent at that point in time. He's like you have your word has to mean something. I'm just like, man, see, the ink ain't on this deal.
Well, when you think about it, when people think about you, they think about your character. And
Yeah,
had you said, reneged on that deal with Buffalo, the narrative on London Fletcher could have been very different going forward.
absolutely. Because I promise you, I had agreed to the deal, and probably I don't know, 20 minutes hadn't passed. I hadn't even had a chance to call like my close family and friends to tell them that I had agreed to the deal. They had already told me like that what I was getting paid and everything. It was funny. That's how quickly, news spread,
Yeah.
and it's even faster now. So yeah, because it was out there that I had agreed to a deal with them.
So Coy Wire told me that when you guys were together in Buffalo and he had to go play linebacker, he was playing right next to you. And you were the one who he said saved him
Yeah.
because you'd be like, Coy, come to the right, come to the right. Like, it's going to be a run. And he just said to me, he's like, Kutch, I don't know how he knew, but he
hmm
always knew what the play was going to be. And he allowed me to get there a step earlier than I would have if I were just waiting. So he gives you a ton of credit.
Yeah, and that goes back to my whole film study
Mm-hmm.
and preparation and just being able to like I've studied so much. Some of my teammates they tell me, man, if we ever wanted to assassinate you, we know where to find you. You're gonna be in the film room. Like I would get my lunch and I would go back to the linebacker room and I'm watching film, eating my lunch there. Before meetings in the morning, I'm in the meeting room, by myself watching film. After practice, I'm in the meeting room watching film. That just was my happy place.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoyed being there.
Bring up a not happy place, but you mentioned it before. In your time with St. Louis, you guys won a Super Bowl. You went to another one. The other one that you went to was against the Patriots, which was Tom Brady's first Super Bowl appearance and win. Is that correct?
It is. It is
Okay.
correct. Yes.
So take me back to that time. You guys were heavy favorites. I was actually working for the Patriots then. I was an intern with them. And I remember it was like a huge spread. And I was like, man, there's something about this Patriots team. When you were watching film on Tom Brady that year, his rookie year, prepping for that game. And that was, if I'm not mistaken, also a Super Bowl where there wasn't a bye week in between.
Hmm.
You went because of 9/11, you went straight from the NFC Championship to the Super Bowl. So, what did you see on film about Tom Brady back then?
So ironically, I mentioned us playing the Titans in the regular season during the regular season. In '99 when we ended up winning the Super Bowl, we had also played the Patriots during the regular season of 2000 when we played them in the old Foxborough Stadium.
Yep.
I don't know what start number that was for Brady. We played them on a Sunday night football. It was a tremendous atmosphere. Their uh their fans went to it. We ended up winning a close ball game. I picked Brady off in that ball game and picked him off and you know
I hope you
we
saved that ball.
back then I used to give footballs out as gifts, man. I had
Yeah.
to
Well, back then,
yeah.
nobody thought Brady would be
No,
Brady.
no, but it was at that point in time going to the game, going into that Super Bowl, the Patriots they were more of a ball control, heavy run type offense. Um, more Brady. I won't say he was a game manager, but he wasn't asked to do
Yeah.
all the stuff that he was eventually asked to do as he evolved in his career. So, and they also ran a lot of like gadget plays, reverses, double passes. They were that excellent on defense, excellent in the special teams aspect, but relied heavily on the run game, their defense, and special teams. It was, hey, Tom, you'll make some plays in the passing game, but he may attempt, I don't know, 20 to 25 throws a game. So, it was going to be a really conservative type of offense from that standpoint. Going into the game, again, we knew what they were because we had played them during the regular season. Had to stop. I think they had Antoine Smith was a running back, big running back. They had to deal with him. They had some of the other little smaller backs that came and did their third down stuff. Troy Brown was a weapon for
Mm-hmm.
them offensively. Somebody you had definitely had to know where he was, especially on third downs. Um, the defensively, the thing about them, defensively, they challenge you a lot because one week they might be a 4-3 defense. The next week they might be a 3-4 defense. They might be heavy blitz team. Then the next week might be heavy zone. You know, play a lot of just 4-man rush and play zone coverage. And the first game we played them in New England, I can remember them blitzing a lot, especially early in that game, and they were bringing a house. So you prep for that the whole week leading to the Super Bowl, and then get in there, and then they didn't blitz a ton in that game. A lot of times they dropped 8 into coverage, and so it's just that's what made the Patriots such a tough team to play for, and Bill Belichick just a mastermind at the head coach and how they were would just morph into different things week in and week out.
And that was the other part with that Patriots team. In the AFC Championship game, Brady got hurt and Drew Bledsoe came back in and he helped lead the team to the Super Bowl. Was there ever a thought in your guys' mind that Bledsoe might start the Super Bowl as opposed to Brady?
Not really. I think we had some pretty good intel that Brady was going to be the starting quarterback, and it wasn't like you're preparing for
Right,
Michael
Michael
Vick,
Vick. Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
then Tom Brady. They're
yeah.
both going to be pocket quarterbacks. They were going to be standing in the pocket. Drew was going to hold on the ball longer, and I would say this: they probably would have took more. They took more downfield shots when Bledsoe was a quarterback. But in terms of what you prepare for is their system. You're not going to all of a sudden you get to that point in the season where you were and how they got to the Super Bowl and change and now let's be a vertical passing team. No, they're gonna still. Even though you're the quarterback in this game, Drew, what got us to this point has been ball control, being able to run the ball. Getting into some third and short, some second and mediums type of thing, third and mediums, and we're gonna protect the football. So but we had a pretty good idea that Tom was gonna be the starting quarterback in that game.
All right, let's fast forward. You signed as a free agent with Buffalo in '02. You then signed with Washington, at that time the Redskins, in '07. What was the reason to go into DC? Same reason? Hey, honesty. That's what we want. They
Hey,
offered good money.
listen. So I'm visiting. I I go. I'm become a free agent. Buffalo. They offer me a deal. It was I think it was a 5-year package. Maybe it's 3-year deal. I can't remember what it was. Uh, we knew I would get more in the open market,
Mm-hmm.
and so I go on my free agent visit to Washington. And Gregg Williams, who was my head coach in Buffalo. Now he's the defensive coordinator in um, DC with the Redskins. And so they called me, as soon as free agent opens like 12 on 1, whatever. And so it was Coach Gibbs. I'm talking to him, and then like, hey, London, we want you to come up here. We love to have you be a part of the Redskins. We want to get you on a free agent visit. We're gonna set everything up, send a plane to get you. So work through that. And then I talked to Greg, and Greg was like, London, bring a suit. So that was cold word for we're gonna pay you. So they so I go up there and I got this. I was my late wife at that time.
Mm-hmm.
She was pregnant with my youngest son, with my son, with Steele. And so Vinny Serrato was a GM. And so they wanted me to bring my wife and everything and to the on the visit as well. And my agent at the time is actually Drew Bledsoe was my agent. So he was like, "Hey, I mean,
Wait,
Drew Rosenhaus. I'm sorry,
Rosenhaus. Okay, yeah.
Drew
Yeah.
Rosenhaus was my agent." So we're talking about the trip, and he's like, "London, hey, right now Washington's not at the number we want, so don't bring Chardonnay with you because we had other visits lined up." Guess what? Ironically, it was going to be Detroit again and New England, the Patriots. Those are the two teams I was going to visit um, after the Washington trip. So when they send a plane and I'm on a flight with Gregg Williams comes to pick me up.
Yep.
Get on the flight with him back to DC, and he's asking me all these questions. Trying to, hey, where are you going to visit? All these, Greg, I'm a veteran. I got other visits lined up and everything. So we get to the Redskins facility, and I see Vinny. I come in, and Vinny was like, "Hey, where's Charnay?" I said, "Well, she's pregnant, and I got other visits lined up. I don't want her to be, going all over the." When you saw his face, the expression in his face, like he saw a ghost. He was like, "Oh shoot, this guy is serious about getting paid or whatever,
Yeah.
so to speak." So it was all part of Drew's strategy or whatever. So we go get there, and Dan Snyder, I'm meeting with him, Joe Gibbs, then Greg, Vinny, their cap guys, and they're talking about, hey, we don't have a bubble here in DC. Are you tough enough to play here? This Redskins weather and all this and this and that. And so, now mind you, I'm from Cleveland.
Right. You just came from
I
Buffalo.
just came from Buffalo. I just spent 5 years in Buffalo. I don't know if this is a rhetorical question or you really,
Right.
is this just something you ask all the free agents? And so, like, yeah, that's what I said to him. But in my mind, what I'm thinking is, man, I can give a damn about Redskins weather. All I care about how much you gonna pay me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all we really need to discuss. So, they end up obviously, we end up getting the deal done with them, and it ended up being a great situation because that was actually the place I wanted to sign with. I wanted to play in Washington, wanted to play in the nation's capital. I grew up a Browns fan, but I had a healthy respect for Washington, for Coach Gibbs and what the Redskins were able to do back then. Because they were one of the teams that was always on football. I can remember Pat Summerall and John Madden calling those games and talking about the Hogs and all that. And then I just being the old RFK Stadium. So I had played in the small markets, Buffalo and St. Louis. I wanted to be in a big market. I wanted to be around something like that and to be in a nation's capital. So I was thrilled that we were able to get the deal done with Washington. And it ended up being another great decision for me. I'm on the mindset of what's for me is for me. And, I would have loved to play my whole career in St. Louis. Didn't happen. Would have loved to, finish out my career in Buffalo. Didn't happen. Didn't go that way. That wasn't the way God planned for it to be. I was able to play in Washington, end up playing the longest part of my tenure in Washington, playing 7 years there. And I went there as a 32, almost 32 years old. And, that's older in the football world. And I ended up playing until I was over 38 years old. So great decision. I'm still a part of the organization. They treated me phenomenal, treated my family phenomenal. I'm in their Hall of Fame. I work the
Yep.
games as a broadcaster now. So all those things, none of those things happen, obviously, if I don't sign there or, didn't get the deal done in St. Louis, don't get the deal done in Buffalo, things like that.
It's just crazy for me to think about. I always love the what ifs, right? Those always intrigue me, and everything happened for a reason and it worked out so well for you. I just can't help but think about the what if London Fletcher is the Mike linebacker for Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, because I just have this feeling that Belichick would have loved coaching you.
Yes, and I went down there to visit Coach Belichick at North Carolina early in the spring. I took
Yeah.
my son and a couple other kids to go visit Chapel Hill and visit with Coach. And that was actually the first time I'd ever had conversations with Coach Belichick. Even though we competed against each other um, and over all those years, I spent 5 years in the AFC East and competed against him in Super Bowl and all that type of stuff. But that was actually the very first time that we really had a conversation. And I told him how I used to, like, man, I would have loved to play for you just to have the admiration I have. I would study his defense and the things that he would do with his defenses. Just like, man, this is next level stuff. That like just his mind, I had such a great appreciation for it because like this is just him, Dick LeBeau, Gregg Williams, just great defensive minds, and Dick and Greg, high pressure guys. Dick LeBeau, the fire
Yep.
zone stuff, played for him in Buffalo for 1 year, and obviously having the years that I had with Greg. But man, just great defensive
So
minds.
what did Belichick say to you when you brought your son in?
Oh, he was so he was telling my son, how good of a football player I was, and because still your kids think you're not as good. He wasn't that good. The Belichick, no, he was great. He talked about me in the cover two and all. He's like, man, this guy was a tackling machine and and all this type of stuff. So So I look at Steve, you hear that? You heard what he said. So yeah, it was great to be able to just be around him, watch the way he conducted practice, the way the way he did things. He had his defensive backs. They had mitts on to keep them from holding in practice.
Oh
It
wow.
is like I know other teams have done that, but at one point they took the mitts off, and then later on he tells the defensive back coach, "Hey, put the mitts back on the DBs. Like they're getting a little too handsy." So just stuff like that.
In DC, you went to 4 straight Pro Bowls. You mentioned how you played past the age of 38. Your last year, you still had over 100 tackles. What made you decide to say, I'm done?
Man, when bums start catching balls on me, you know, my after my my 15th year, after my 15th year, I had to. I played that season. I had a really bad ankle sprain, and I was having to get a injection in every week to be able to play. And I had an elbow that had some bone spurs and dealing with bone spurs in the elbow and bone spurs in my ankle. So if I was going to play again, so after the 2012 season, we make the playoffs, won the division. We had won 7 straight games, but I mean, it was a grind for me personally every week because I wasn't. I maybe was only able to practice like once a week. I'd you know, just couldn't practice as
Wow.
much because I was dealing with that ankle injury, and I knew in order to play again, I was going to have surgeries.
Yeah.
And I was like, after the season, I was like, man, do I really want to continue to play? My my family, they had stayed in Charlotte that season. That was my first season away from them. My oldest, she had started kindergarten, and so I was just like, um, man, I miss my kids, miss my wife. I just want to kind of get back home. So
Mhm.
it was going to take some reflection, soul searching for me to determine whether I wanted to do the things necessary to play again. It took me maybe a month and a half maybe even 2 months before I decided, you know what, I'm gonna go through the surgery, go ahead, I had a surgery and come back and play. Um, wasn't able to train. I was rehabbing that all season and training to rehab. Rehabbing is totally different than
Yep.
training. So I just wasn't able physically able to do the same things that I did for the prep for the season. And like, man, like mentally, I know what's about to happen. I'm there, but I can't make these plays that I normally make. And it was like, you know what? All right, time to hang them up. But I got everything out of my body that I absolutely could. I mentally, I laid it on the line. Physically, I laid it on the line. And I had no regrets with just when I
Yeah.
decided to hang it up. But the only thing I would have loved to do, I really wanted to leave Washington in a better situation from a winning standpoint than it was when I got there. And um, that's why I really considered, retiring after 2012. Like, man, all right, we're good. Like, we
Yeah.
won the division. you know, I think,
Interesting.
Coach Shanahan has this thing in the right trajectory, going in the right place. And 2013 happened, and it was a nightmare season for us for a lot of different reasons.
Right. It stinks that that's going to be the last one, but I mean, 215 consecutive games started at linebacker, 16 years playing linebacker, 4 times Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion. That is a hell of a career. So I like to end all my podcasts with a segment called This Just In. And these are rapid fire questions. Uh,
Okay,
and we might, expound on them depending on the answers. First one, why number 59?
that was the number they gave me. Like, undrafted guy. Actually, they gave me 66 initially, and that's not, I wasn't Ray Nitschke, so you weren't wearing 66 in the actual NFL game as a linebacker. So eventually, 59 became available, and that was the only linebacker number that was available to me.
What was your basketball number?
I had several basketball numbers. High school, I wore 13 and 23, and then in college, I wore 3.
Okay. The teammate that you learned the most from.
I would say probably Mike Jones and Aeneas Williams. I'm gonna have to say both those guys. I can't just say one. Mike early in my career because he was a veteran linebacker, and I'm in the
Yep.
room with him on a daily basis. Then Nias, I played just 1 year with him last year in St. Louis, and just the way he practiced, prepared, all those types of things, and the same thing with Mike. So yeah, those two guys.
Your favorite QB to play chess with.
Oh man, there was some great chess players at the quarterback position. Peyton was he's a chess master. Tom Brady's a chess master. There was I think it was Matt Ryan. Him and I had the greatest one series chess match I think in the history of the game. With me, definitely on my part. So he's with the Falcons. I'm with the Redskins. They come out in the formation. We have our defense. I think we had a blitz dialed up. He checks to a new call. I check to another defense. So now he sees the new check, new defense. He checks back to another call. I check back to the so, which is this is on a rare occasion that happens. But yeah, I would say probably it's hard as I would say Tom and Peyton, those were the ones that definitely having the battles with those guys.
All right. Toughest player to tackle.
Man, they all fall. So that's nah, I've never really had like a
Okay.
tough
Who
player
who is
that
the guy that you were most proud and you were psyched that, all right, I got that guy, whether it was a big hit or anything.
I got Brandon Jacobs really good. That was one that's been around for a long time. Yeah, I would say that because he was a 270-pound running back.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so he wasn't a small guy at all. So I would say the hit on Brandon Jacobs.
All right. How about the interception? The one that you think about.
I picked six Brett Favre, and but I think the one that it has to be Kurt Warner. I picked six Kurt. I got him as well. I got Kurt when I was in Washington, and I crowd surfed basically into the end zone. So it's against my former teammate who I won a
Yeah.
Super Bowl with, and yeah, I think that one because I got a little bragger rights on Kurt. So if Kurt ever wants to get into it with me a little bit, Kurt, and I picked 60.
Did he say anything to you, or did you guys exchange a look after that?
No, because he was laying on his back and and I was celebrating with my teammates.
I love it. All right. Last but not least, your favorite basketball player growing up and your favorite football player growing up.
Favorite basketball player was, I mean, it's Michael Jordan. Even though I'm from Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard not to appreciate his greatness. Football player, I had two guys, Eric Dickerson and Mike Singletary. Those are my guys.
Those are two good ones. Those are two good ones. We'll end on that. London, appreciate you doing this. You know, it means a lot to me. This is always so much fun to hear your stories. And I've learned stuff today that I never knew before, even though we played a lot of rounds of golf together.
Uh,
So this was awesome. Thank you. And I can't wait to see you back out in the course soon.
I appreciate it, Justin.
All right. Thanks, bud.
All right, no problem.